Okay, so this presentation is all about the Green River Indians. Okay, so this is the Green River is in Kentucky. This is a map of the Green River. It's a map of Kentucky right here. And you got the Green River right going through a whole bunch of counties. Um, I got the county map somewhere right here. So it looks like to me that it goes through. Let's see, it starts up in these counties and goes through these counties here. So that's Davies and Henderson. Goes through McLean, Ohio County. I think it goes to Muhlenberg. It's adjacent to Muhlenberg. Goes through Butler, Edmondson. I think it hits Warren, Edmondson, right? Maybe even gets Greene County. I don't know. But that's where it starts, right? So it goes down through here, goes through McLean, goes through Ohio and Muhlenberg, Butler, Edmondson. Because I've heard of these counties being talked about. So the Green River Indians are just any of the Indians, any of the Native Americans, Native Kentuckians who's living on the Green River. That's it, okay? So there's Cherokee, there's been different tribes, but if you lived on the Green River Indians, you were a Green River Indian. And they found a ton of archaeological sites on the Green River. The reason why I want to focus on the Green River is because in Breckinridge County, which is where I'm at, you have the Rough River Lake. And the Rough River Lake is right here, and it's a tributary to the Green River. So eventually it gets to the Green River. So if there are Native Americans living on the Green River, why wouldn't they live at a lake? Why wouldn't they live on some of the creeks and streams that's going by? I think the Muddy Prong goes right by my house, and then the Clear Prong is dry, which is weird. Muddy Prong is still going on, but the Clear Prong is it's so clear you see the rocks on the bottom because there's no water, right? So it's a tributary of Green River, so it's not Breckenridge, but it's close. And so I could see some of the Native Americans trekking up and living in the creeks and the streams and the forest. Kentucky was rich in fertile soil and game, elk, deer, lots of animals, lots of things for them to eat, berries, wildlife, plants. So it was a poor man's country for white people because of the plush environment, and so therefore it's the same reason why the Native Americans were here. So I got a ton of stuff. I'll start in this one. So Kentucky has 34 Native American tribes that consider Kentucky as their homeland. And here's a list that I'd come up with, and it's pretty amazing because historians would try to tell you that it was just a happy hunting ground and there was no Native Americans here, but they're all over the place. So before the French, before the Spanish, before the English got here, Native Americans, they own Kentucky. They control Kentucky. When I looked at one of the archaeological sites, I think in this book here, and they had said actually that there was one site that they had found was like 4000 BC. So the sites that they have found, there's a site near Bluff City in Henderson County. There's a site on Austin Place, McLean County, right? We saw McLean, Ohio, Butler, and Edmondson. So all these counties have a mound or a site of Native Americans where they found a whole bunch of Native American artifacts. So I mean, let's see, Henderson, McLean, Ohio. I think I can remember all those. Let's go back to the Kentucky map. So you got Henderson County, which is right there. McLean County, which is right there, Ohio County, which is right there, Butler County, and was it Edmondson County? Was that the other one? Because there's 5. Edmondson, Butler, Ohio, McLean, and Henderson. So just check out those counties, right? So I'm going to check them out. Henderson, McLean, Ohio, Butler, Edmondson. So those 5 counties right in a row. Boom, boom, boom. And since they're in those counties, there's probably more because Green River kept on going, so there's probably more in other counties, and there's probably ones in all the tributaries of the Green River. Because this is the main Green River, right? But the Green River itself is a tributary to the Ohio River, which is a tributary to the Mississippi. So, yeah, of course, Native Americans would live by water sources. Kentucky is actually one of the states that's known for having the most water sources. So if you compare it, I think Alaska is the only state that has more waterways, lakes, streams per landmass than Kentucky. So there's more actually. I guess it'd probably be frozen in Alaska, and it's an interesting fact when you juxtapose it next to the lack of running water. So Kentucky has, one of the greatest streams, creeks, lakes in all the states, but it also has one of the fewest running. There's 60% or 75% of those in Letcher County doesn't even have running water. There's outhouses. There's people living, in the sticks still today. So even though we have all these streams and creeks and lakes, some of us don't even have running water, including me. But I'm not. That's just temporary. Okay, I got a water line in my front yard. I just got to find a way to connect it to my house. So running water is close by where I'm at, but it's there are some counties where they've been living their entire lives on cistern water and buying water from a tank and getting it delivered up to them, or they just drink Mountain Dew and getting Mountain Dew mouth. But anyways, I thought it's interesting. Lots of waterways, but we don't have any running water. So I don't know. It seems like a weird contradiction. Surely there's a lake or a creek or a stream nearby where folks can get some water. So there's 34 different tribes, or 35 different tribes. The Crane, the Ponca, the Saponi, Tutelo-speaking Saponi, Sioux Indians, also Tutelo-speaking Choctaw, Mohawk, Outagamie, Iskosogos, Tugehas, Mohawk, Cherokee, Shawnee, Chickasaw, Yuchi. Yuchi is also called the Green River Indians. So that's something that I forgot. So, but because I remember the Yuchi was, maybe they were by there. But the Yuchi was like one of the 4 or 5 main groups that were identified in that Native American map where it just has big swaths, right? The Chickasaw lived here, the Shawnee lived here, the Cherokee lived here, and the Yuchi lived here. For some reason I felt like the Yuchi lived in the Appalachian Mountains. But evidently there's some Yuchi that lived on the Green River. Now I don't want to say all the Green River Indians were Yuchi, but we do know that there were Yuchi Indians on the Green River. So that's a step closer to our goal. We know that there's Yuchi, we know there's Cherokee. So there could have been Yuchi in Breckinridge County, there could have been Cherokee. They definitely were on the Green River. So and there could be a lot of tribes. I mean, tribes, they eventually grouped together, but a lot of times it was sort of, just their own sort of clique, their own tribe, their own clan. So it could just be, 10 people, it could be a father, it could be a group of boys, it could be anybody, right? Anybody that just says, hey, let's band together and let's survive. So it's Yuchi, Cherokee. They were on there. Eel River Indians, Yamacraw, the Kaskaskia Indians. That's just Kaskaskia was a place in Indiana, which I think might be, I don't know, it sounds like an Indian name, but it was a fort for the French or something. I don't know. I remember George Rogers Clark burned Kaskaskia down. So I think there's a French fort that was there, but anybody who lived around Kaskaskia was known as the Kaskaskia Indians. And so it's Indiana or Illinois, but they were close enough to Kentucky where there's Kaskaskia Indians here. So Lenape, Delaware, they spoke Algonquin, the Miami, Chippewa, all the Council of the Three Fires, the Piankeshaw, the other ones, Chippewa, Piankeshaw. Maybe there's only 2 of them. Okay, so Ottawa. Okay, Ottawa, Piankeshaw, and Chippewa. So the Chippewa, Ottawa, and the Piankeshaw were the Council of the Three Fires, Potawatomi, Tutelo, Illinois, Lanapoto. You can check them out whenever you want to, but you want to say that none of the Indians were here, but there's 35 tribes that I found in Kentucky, so I call bullshit. I do want to check out that Yuchi Green River connection, so there might be a part 2 to this. So I was checking out the different things that we can find out about the Green River Native Americans. So here, Indian Knoll is an archaeological site near Paradise, Kentucky. It was declared to be a U.S. National Historical Landmark. That's huge. So the Indian Knoll is, something huge, and it was in Paradise, Kentucky. And Paradise, Kentucky is in Muhlenberg County, right? So we saw that that's right, in the Green River area. Paradise, the town is located 10.5 miles northeast of Greenville. Used to be called Stom's Landing trading post along the Green River, but it no longer exists. So Paradise is a ghost city. There is no more Paradise. Paradise is dead. It's a ghost city, just like probably most of the Native American towns and cities. It's just ghosts, right? Maybe their spirits are still haunting the area, but Paradise is no more. It's in a small town in Muhlenberg. They said it's torn down by the TVA due to health concerns over the coal-burning electric plant Paradise fossil plant. So the coal plant was, making everybody sick and killing everybody. So eventually they told everybody to fucking go home. Paradise settled in the early 19th century. Stom's Landing, a post office was there, closed. 1959, the TVA built a coal plant at the former site of Paradise. The coal-fired plants remain controversial, and Paradise permits in particular have been criticized by environmentalists for non-compliance with the Clean Air Act. So they didn't give a shit about pollution, just polluted everybody, right? So a song by, let's see, construction of new scrubbers. So I guess, is there still a coal plant there? A song about Paradise, Kentucky called Paradise, written and made famous by singer-songwriter John Prine. The lyrics attributed to the destruction of Paradise, the destruction of Paradise to the Peabody Company. So the Peabody Company fucking destroyed Paradise, allude to the fact that the town was a site for strip mining. In reality, the town remained in partial form after the Pittsburgh and Midway Coal Company stripped the coal around it. Paradise Fossil Plant was initially erected with only 2 units. Afterwards, residents who were left in the village were bawled out by the TVA after ash fall from the newly opened plant brought health concerns to the area. So they got ashes just falling all over the fucking everybody, right? So people just getting rained on by these ashes. They have coal ash ponds, coal slurry. You mix that ash with some fucking water, it turns into sludge, if it's real thick. Soon the TVA bought the town out. They tore down all the structures, constructed the largest cyclonic-fired boiler in the world at the new Paradise Unit 3. All that remains of the original town is a small cemetery on top of the hill close to the plant. So that's it. That's all you got is a big fucking coal plant, and then you got a cemetery, all the people that died. The town was not abandoned by any flooding of the Green River, so they did not leave because of a flood. It was left because of the fucking coal miners, the coal mining companies. Right, motherfuckers just want to build a dirty ass fucking coal plant and make everybody all sick and make them catch that arsenic cancer and shit. So, the town was not abandoned by any flooding, even though the town did endure numerous floods during its lifespan. It survived all the floods of its history. John Denver recorded the song and released it on his album Rocky Mountain High. John Prine song, right? Tom T. Hall recorded the song, released it on his album, The Magnificent Music Machine. Dwight Yoakam also recorded the song, 2 versions released on his album, Dwight's Used Records. So interesting. Check out that song about John Prine, Paradise, because it's about this lost city of Paradise, Kentucky, in Muhlenberg County. And the thing I opened up a wiki. Yeah, here's Muhlenberg County. There's actually a song about Muhlenberg. There's a guy in Vermont that loved Kentucky. He was like, Muhlenberg, blah, blah, blah. 2000 census, there's 32,000 people there. Named for General Peter Muhlenberg, a colonial general during the American Revolutionary War. So named after an American revolutionary. I don't want to read. Let's see, Green River. 300-mile river. It's a tributary of the Ohio River. So 300 miles. Green River is a 300-mile long river, which includes the Rough River Lake, including the Muddy and Clear Prong. So all the way up in Breckinridge County, we're contributing to the Green River. Provides a commercial outlet for goods, primarily coal, right? So we ship anything down the river. We got railroads and planes, and we got boats. There's lots of barges going up and down the Ohio River. So that's one cheap way. You don't have to worry about, as much gas. The water's going that direction. Muhlenberg County, the Green River first entered the public consciousness through the John Prine song Paradise, about a now defunct coal mining town. So I wonder if that might have been the song that he was talking about. Oh, in Muhlenberg County. Actually, I'm going to look up the lyrics. I was going to do the sound, but the sound might not travel that great over the recording devices that I have here, because you're playing it on the speakers, it's recording on the thing. I don't know. It'd just be easier just to try to get the original onto it. And just check it out yourself. You know, what the hell? What the hell? Check out the lyrics. Okay, so Green River, it's 300 miles of beautiful, luscious river, you know, except for the places the coal companies polluted. They, even in Louisville, they're just dumping toxins, acceptable amounts, right? The EPA says you're allowed to put, you know, several gallons in the river every day. And they're like, how many gallons? Well, 100, 200. Well, we need a number. Okay, 100. Just 100 is all you can do. Any more than that, you're polluting it. And so they put, you know, 99 gallons and a half, right? They get up to that threshold. Hey, we're allowed to pollute. What do you mean? We're allowed to pollute some. We can't pollute all. So yeah, Daddy, why don't you take me back to Muhlenberg County? That was the song that Kentucky man in Vermont was singing. So they even talked about the song here. John Prine's song was famous. Let's see, German afternoons, devastating impact of strip mining for coal. The top of the mountain is blasted off with dynamite to reach the coal seam below. The song is also about what happened to the area around the Green River in Kentucky because of strip mining. The song references the Peabody Coal Company in the now defunct town called Paradise. So, whether it's right or wrong, that fucking Peabody fucking company, motherfuckers, fuck the Peabody fucking companies. So when I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky where my parents were born. There's a backwards old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. Wow. So he remembers going through Paradise. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where Paradise lay? Oh, Paradise is the city of Paradise. But it's not a paradise because the coal fucking company destroyed Paradise. I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. So the fucking coal company took the whole fucking town away, and they did. They bought all out. Even the few people remaining, they bought them all out to make sure they didn't get sick. Sometimes, what are we saying here? Sometimes we would travel right down the Green River to abandoned old prison down by Adrie Hill, where the air smelled like snakes, and we'd shoot our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all we could kill. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where Paradise lay? Sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Then the coal company came with the world's largest shovel. They tortured the timber and stripped all the land while they dug for their coal till the land was forsaken. Then they wrote it down as the progress of man. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where Paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. When I die, let my ashes float down the Green River. Let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with Paradise waiting just 5 miles away from wherever I am. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where Paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. So there you go. He was like, man, I want him to sing a bastardized song of John Prine's Paradise. Now you got it. Indian Knoll was actually found on Green River. So this is how we're going to find about the Native Americans. We're going to find out, let's see, I think there's lots of connections between the archaic Native Americans and the Adena and the, what's the old, Fort Ancient people. Like they'll find, let's see, it says late archaic. So this Indian Knoll was around from 3000 to 1000 BC. So we know for sure that with the Indian Knoll that Native Americans have been in this state for at least 5,000 years. And whereas white people have only been here 240 years, 1774. So it's actually exactly 240 years. So white people's been here for 240 years. If you know the first settlement, at least there was trading posts and some French traders, but the English didn't get here until Harrodstown, right? So Harrodstown was established in 1774. So late Archaic period, 3000 to 1000 BC. So we got Native Americans. They've been here for 5,000 years. Who the fuck says that somebody who comes 240 years ago owns any land here? They own all this land. And there is a Cherokee, the Southern Cherokee, Southern Kentucky Cherokee or something. They're a tribe that lives on the Green River today. So the Indian Knoll site is located along the Green River in Ohio County. So Ohio County, we've seen the Ohio County, right? It's one of the first, like the third one or so, the third county that touches the Green River. During the late 1930s, the University of Kentucky excavated much of Indian Knoll as part of the Works Progress Administration economic recovery efforts, which is FDR, and that's public works projects. Is the government creating jobs. Hundreds of local men were hired to assist the archaeologists working at Indian Knoll. Hundreds of local men. This work resulted in the excavation of over 65,000 square feet, 1.5 acres, 60% of the site, and the recovery of more than 50,000 artifacts. They found spear points, right, arrowheads, bone pins, marine shell beads, and banner stones. They also excavated numerous hearths, roasting pits, burned clay floors, and human burials. So they found skeletons, burned clay floors. Well, I don't know why they burn in clay floors. Roasting pits, I guess, where they cook. Hearth, where they cook, right? Start a fire and cook, or maybe have some sort of tribal ceremony. All this is fascinating to me. The spear points, the bone. What's a bone pin? I don't know what a bone. Marine shell beads. They would use some of the. I think they called them wampum. They would use shells as currency. So this could have been their money, right? And so they had money just lying around. They just left it. What happened to them? They were there 3,000 for 1,000 years, and they just picked up and left. Did the mastodons, did they stomp on them or something? Excavated numerous hearths, roasting pissy. More interesting finds were 23 dog burials. So they found 23 dead dogs. So they would even bury their own dogs. So dogs were native to Kentucky. That's amazing to me. I guess the Europeans didn't bring everything over; they just brought horses. So the Native Americans had dogs here. They had lots of stuff here: potato, tomato, corn, chocolate, vanilla, peppers. Peppers come from the Americas. Potato, that's like a staple crop, right? Potato, it's like the fruit or vegetable or something. But it's in a bunch of stuff: ketchup and pastas and sauces. Same with pepper. Imagine, all pepper. I think even black pepper. I don't know. I think it's dried pepper, but the jalapenos. Spicy peppers. Like, where would we be without peppers? I guess we would be okay. But there's a lot of staple stuff. Corn. My God, everything's made of. There's corn starch, corn flakes, corn on the cob. Syrup, the sugar come from corn, right? The what do they call that? Corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup. So, and that's how we're making sugar. Is like such an expensive process. Most of the shit that we have is high fructose corn syrup. So that's stuff that corn is being made for today. Popcorn. So it's not just, the kernels of corn, even though that's where it all begins. But, I don't know. I raised sweet corn, but we haven't moved past, shit. We're still doing the shit Native Americans were doing. I don't know. We've got more machinery. 23 dog burials. That's fascinating. So the Native Americans had their own dogs. Excavation results were published in 1941. The University of Kentucky, William S. Webb. Webb's report inspired many southeastern archaeologists to take notice of the fascinating finds in Indian Knoll, and the site became integral to understanding archaic life throughout all of eastern North America. Wow! That's pretty fucking big there. So no wonder it's a landmark. Those guys, they're not dead. They're digging. In the early 1990s, Indian Knoll and 19 other Green River shell middens became National Historic Landmarks. Shell middens, I heard, is just like trash. They find dead bones, dead bodies, dead, just burnt things where it makes it seem like it was just poop shit, right? Where they just put their excrements. So it's kind of like the holes that they put trash and crap into. The site is looks like all that. The shell deposits reached over 8 feet in depth, so you had to dig 8 feet down. By late archaic hunter-gatherers. There's no evidence to suggest that late archaic people moved large amounts of earth and shell to create the Indian knoll midden. No evidence. Rather, it represents the repeated discarding of shell, animal bone, plant, foods, wood, and artifacts. So it's trash. That's where they put all their fucking trash, right? Old pottery, old wood, old plant, bones, shells. They just threw it in a fucking hole. Fuck it. We're just gonna put it in a hole. It's garbage to us. So maybe those shells weren't money or currency. Maybe they were eating the oysters and the mussels and throwing the shells away, right? Which makes sense. Archaic hunters and gatherers. The archaic families that lived at Indian knoll hunted a variety of animals, including deer, and gathered plants. So they killed deer, right? So still today, native Kentuckians were killing deer, had dogs. You know, the Kentucky people, they had dogs, they hunt deer. Gathered plants, hickory nuts, fished, collected mussels. So that was a big thing before. I don't know if we have any more mussels in our streams and creeks, but I've heard that a lot. So mussels, what do they say? Hickory nuts, fishing. The people who periodically visit Indian Knoll were mobile hunters and gatherers who did not live in a single spot all year, but they moved with the seasons. Sort of nomadic. Sounds like the Shawnee. The Shawnee would set up shop for the summer and then follow the herd during the winter. Their life was not one of aimless wandering, though. Families planned their moves carefully. They drew on their deep knowledge of the life cycles of local plants and animals, and on where they could find certain resources. The nearby mussel bed may have drawn archaic groups to Indian Knoll, but other abundant food sources such as turtles, deers, and nut-bearing trees. Turtles, deer, nut-bearing trees would have kept them at this locality for extended periods of time. So there's hickory nuts, right? So you can eat nuts. It's got protein. Turtles, they ate turtle. They ate deer. So this is a very they could survive off the land, you know. Country boy can survive. Native Americans could survive in the same way. So what, I don't know, just our ability to own private property and our illusion of democracy. We don't have, it's not like a town hall meeting like the Greeks, and it wasn't like the Iroquois, right? So what democracy? Anyways, we're civilized, they're not, right? Yeah, okay, right. That's bullshit. Okay, so let's see. Families planned their moves carefully. They drew on their deep knowledge of the life cycles of local plants and animals. Let me see. The burned clay floors, artifact caches, and numerous human and canine burials found at Indian Knoll tell archaeologists that the archaic residents of the Indian Knoll did more than just hunt, gather, and eat food. They burned clay floors, indicate that families created solid surfaces to pitch camp, perhaps because they wished to frequently revisit the site or to stay in the area for a long stretch of time. While at the site, they would have exchanged information with other families, refurbished their tools, made clothing. How are they making clothing? Tools. There's some Indian heads, right? Chipped stone knives. Well, they're knives. That's not even an Indian arrowhead. I'm saying Indian head. Arrowhead. Burnt clay floors. The families created solid surfaces to pitch camp because they wished to frequently revisit the site or to stay in the area for a long stretch of time. This is their fucking home. You know, they said the happy hunting ground. Why they got burnt clay floors, right? They had clay floors and they burned it to dry it out, and then you had a hard wood floor or hard surface floor. So once you had a hard surface to walk on and do your thing on, you know, you're not slipping in through the mud, and it creates more of a solid foundation for their teepees, I guess, or their you know, lean-tos or whatever it is, or their mud huts, or their I don't know, limb house. So let's see. They exchanged information with other families, refurbished their tools, made clothing, held weddings, and conducted rituals important to their everyday. They had fucking weddings. So they had even back then, the ritual of marriage, right? The sacred, sanctimonious tradition of pairing off and sticking together. Native Americans were doing it. They had dogs hunting mussels, killing turtles and deer. Dry floors, right? Burnt dry floors. So this was a summer home, but this is where they kept coming back. They would have to, this is where we set up base, set up camp. We're gonna keep coming back here. They also buried their dead near where they lived. So we have rattles made from carapace of terrapin. Rattles. So I guess musical instruments. Cache of chipped stone knives from the Indian Knoll. Archaeologists' analysis on the Indian Knoll skeletons indicate that on the whole, the archaic hunter-gatherers of the Green River Valley were relatively healthy. Most adult teeth contain little or no enamel as a result of eating food that contains significant quantities of grit. So they're eating dirt food, or like something that was real hard. This suggests the residents Indian Knoll ate plant remains, hickory nuts that were processed using the many mortars and pestles found at the site. So a mortar and pestle, just something to smash something else with, right? Use of these tools created, that's used in biology. I learned that in chemistry class. So use of these tools created substantial amounts of grit in the food they ate, which over many years led to the removal of the enamel. So they're eating hickory nuts, and it was bad for their teeth. They also, I don't know if they brushed their teeth in it, but I heard even their hygiene was pretty good, which like the Europeans was like, what? Tomatoes, corn, dogs. You guys are civilized, and you have lots of nice land, and we don't want you here on this land. Mussels were an important part to the late archaic diet at Indian Knoll. 5,000 years ago, many different kinds of freshwater mussels lived in the shallow shoals and riffle areas of the Green River. Mussels were a good, predictable, protein-rich source of food. They are abundant, easily gathered, and simple to prepare. Unlike many other foods, they could have harvested mussels in any season. Mussels were also a storable and portable food, once separated from their shells and then smoked or dried. And so that's how they kept their meat, right? They would smoke it, they would dry it, and if there was a salt area, they would salt it. So once they cooked it, made it real dry, right? Kind of like beef jerky. It seemed like beef jerky would, any deer jerky that would just, elk jerky, bear jerky, whatever big game was in Kentucky, they could, once you killed it, you want to make it last for as long as you can. I remember that hamburger that went bad in my refrigerator. I was like, what the hell? Shell fishing. Women and children would collect the shellfish in shallow waters at the river's edge. Men often die for shellfish in deeper waters. One piece of evidence about this gendered division of labor is found on the skeletons from Indian Knoll. Male skeletons frequently have a bony growth on their ear bones that only develops from repeated exposure to cold water. Bony growth. So the ear bone, there's a bony growth on their ears because they would swim in the cold waters. And they said they dove in the deep areas to retrieve shellfish at the bottom of the river. That might be true. They might be diving, deep, or maybe they're just swimming in the wintertime and shit, catching this shit. The gathered shellfish were prepared in several different ways, include steaming, roasting, smoking. These are amazing. Look at all the different ways they can cook. Hey, we got these mussels. What do you want to do with these oysters? Well, let's steam them. Nah, let's roast them. Let's smoke them. Let's do all three. We'll have some steamed mussels, and we'll have some roasted oysters. William Justice Goebel really liked oysters. Loved oysters. Loved them. So shellfish are probably also eaten raw right after collection. The leftover shells are sometimes used for creating pendants, cups, and beads. More often, the shells were piled into large trash piles called middens, which is really what all these Native American sites on the Green River is, just a bunch of trash sites, right? Just a whole bunch of trash, just a bunch of shit. So that's like landfills. They had like little holes that they were piling their trash in, kind of like what we do today. Only we find hillsides and just keep dumping it on top of it. Burn it. Why wouldn't you just burn it? I don't know. Anyways. So Indian Knoll is a large trash pile. Here's the archaic women, their children collecting freshwater mussels in one of the river's many shoals. So, right, the women would collect it in shallow waters, but the men would dive deep, according to archaeologists, as if they know what they're talking about. They could have just been swimming in the wintertime, right? They don't have to, they diving deep. How do you know they dive deep? How do they know they're on the bottom? Someone would have had, well, maybe if they find like a big collection or something. They had some sculpted bodies. They could have been, you know, that strong and powerful. So stone tools were the most common artifacts recovered from Indian Knoll. Nearly 4,000 spear points or knives, also known as projectile points to archaeologists. Spear points, knives, projectile points, arrowheads, all these, right? Chipped stone archaic spear points from the Green River Valley area. Both side notched and stemmed varieties are shown below. Even, I mean, it would be a pain in the ass to have to make a fucking arrowhead today. And these, I mean, they're pretty good. I mean, look, you see the design of it, right? You just tie a string or tie some type of thing on to a stick, a rock onto a stick, and now you got yourself a weapon. 4,000 spear points were found there. Other chipped stone tools found at the site include drills, scrapers, abraders, choppers. The spear points in Indian Knoll are found in many different varieties, including stemmed, short stem, corner notched, and side notched. Thousands of ground stone tools were also recovered from the site, usually as axes, pestles, hammerstones, and banner stones. I don't know what any of that is. Banner stones are made of stone or shell, important component of the atlatl, which is a spear thrower. The atlatl was the archaic hunter's weapon of choice. It required skill to make and to use. Two-part tool. You can check out what an here's what an atlatl, they say. Yeah, it's like a stick that help throws a spear. So traditionally, you're just throwing a spear, but with an atlatl, it's a stick, and you could throw the spear so much farther. I guess, I don't know. I've seen someone do a reenactment of it, and it was kind of like, I don't know if you really. You would think the physics of it, but you would really, the spear would have to be really strong and stay straight. You'd have to get really good at it. Chert, top and the right. This is chert and shell banner stones were used as atlatl weights. Fascinating. Shell beads. Most are disc shaped, but some are tubular or barrel shaped. Most beads were made from mussel shells collected from the Green Rivers, but some are made from marine shells. The recovery of marginella shell beads, barrel shaped marine shell beads, conch shell pendants reflects interactions with groups to the south. These groups would have collected them from the Gulf of Mexico or the southern Atlantic coast. So the fact that they're getting all these, or maybe they have these types of fish in the Green Rivers, right? But they're saying they traded them. So they would find stuff, trade it with other places, and then get more variety of foods. Bone pins. The people at Indian Knoll made bone pins from the long bones of white-tailed deer. So white-tailed deer, they used everything from white-tailed deer. They would use their hooves, their antlers, you know. An antler, I guess that's a way you can sort of plow a field, right? You get a way to scrape the field. But they also wrote bone pins, and I guess those are like nails, right? You can probably do a lot of things. Bone pins may have held a person's hair in place. Pins with drill holes may have been strung on a cord, wore as pendants around the neck. So jewelry, mostly they're made out of jewelry. The long bones, so they'd get the white-tailed deers, and they would make all these sort of ornaments from, you know, the Great Spirit give all these animals, and they would use every part of the animal, right? So they're communal living, they're tight-knit families, tribes that lived together. They lived off the land. They were survivors. They would even eat, you know, turtles, and they had pet dogs that they were respected high enough to bury, right? So they, you know, they didn't use the bones of the dogs. That was like a buddy to them. That was a friend to them. They buried them. And this is 3,000. You know, this is 5,000 years ago, 3,000 BC. So they could use these pins to fasten clothing together like a button or a safety pin. Some bone pins were engraved with geometric designs, and sometimes pieces of shell were attached to the top of the pin with asphaltum, a natural asphalt-like substance found at oil seeps, which is interesting. A bone pin shape, style, and decoration may have been linked to family membership or ancestry. Bone pins may have had important symbolic or ritual meaning, since not everyone was buried with a decorated bone pin. Perhaps only the most important people in their society could own them. Or maybe it's like for the chiefs, right? Make me a necklace. There's a shell bead necklace from the Green River Valley. So that's, I don't know if that's a bunch of necklaces or just the chief would wear You know, all that bling, archaic bone pins. That's what the bone pins look like. So they're like little nails, whatever you could use a nail for, right? A million things. The most interesting archaeological finds in Indian Knolls: 23 dog barrels. Archaic dogs were medium sized, stood about 14 to 18 inches tall at the shoulder. Archaeologists think they may have been long haired and may have looked a little like their cousin the wolf. Some of the dogs were buried in their own isolated graves, while other dogs were buried in graves with humans. Some dogs were buried with adults, while others were buried with children. Analysis on the dog bones indicates that the dogs ate a similar diet to humans, but we do not know if the humans fed the dogs or if the dogs scavenged scraps. We will probably never know about everything about this prehistoric relationship between humans and dogs, but the archaeological evidence shows the dogs had a special place in the lives of the archaic people. They did not treat any other animal the way they treated dogs. They may have thought the dogs were just trainable beasts of burden that made hunting and movement from camp to camp easier, or they could have been pets, companions, protectors. Even 5,000 years ago, dogs were man's best friend. So there's Green River Green River natives, Green River Indians. That was a good page. I'm gonna keep that page up because I want to investigate, some of the findings that they found here, what it means, what are the implications. I found a couple Facebook pages. Oh, you got confused. That's cool. So, 50-year anniversary of the Green River Archaeological Society of Kentucky Incorporated education. So that's fun, right? The Green River Archaeological Society. It's a historical landmark, so you probably can go there. There's probably buildings, and you buy artifacts, take a look at all the stuff that they got, look at their research, and find out what kind of natives they were. Their nomadic / permanent existence suggests they could have been Shawnee. We also know that the Yuchi were there. Shawnee were everywhere, right? The Yuchi were there, and the Cherokee were there. Could have been some Kaskaskia, Native American. Scuffletown is also like Paradise. It's a ghost in Henderson, or a ghost town in Henderson County, and it was shut down for some reason. I think there was a site in Scuttletown. That's why I have this up. I still need to do something with it. So I think I'm gonna cut this out now. So the Southern Cherokee Nation were welcomed to Kentucky in Scuffletown and recognized as an Indian tribe by Governor John Y. Brown. The Southern Cherokee is still living on the Green River today. So the Southern Cherokee are still living on the Green River, but I don't know. I mean, there were Cherokee Indians there, but which kind, right? There's like different bands and different types and stuff. So, yeah, the Green River Indians. Video 1. Peace.